Hi, everybody. Welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about...
Thanatos.
You didn't sing it like I thought you were going to.
Thanatos.
Yeah.
How's
now,
that?
what did you say that's from?
Saying it. Pulling off my... Sorry. Ignore
You're
that.
hopeless.
I know.
So, Xanadu, this is the biggest flop in cinematic history?
What? Have you seen it?
No, but isn't that sort of what
Not
everybody
in
knows it as?
history. Are you kidding me? Not with Waterworld and stuff's walking around.
Really?
Xanadu was awesome.
Xanadu was a musical, right?
Yeah.
It's like a musical set in like ancient...
Roller coaster. It had roller skates and stuff at a roller coaster. It had Olivia Newton-John, I believe, was in it. Yeah, and it was good. I liked it. Had an animated section that was done by Don Bluth.
Well, what's the deal? You know, back in the like 80s, it was fashionable to have an animated section in your movies, I feel like.
You know, it's funny you should mention that because I'm going to actually go into a movie that was animated that reminds me of this game. What do you think about that?
I can't wait to hear about
Yeah,
it.
man. It's going to be awesome.
Do you have a favorite animated dragon? Or a real dragon?
What a question. A favorite animated dragon or real dragon? Well, there's Pete's Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
There's the dragon from Dragon's Lair. He's pretty cool.
You know his name?
Singe.
Yes.
What was his name? You know, when you ask about animated dragons, I have trouble thinking of some. So what do you know?
Well, there's Bowser.
Oh, yeah. He's a dragon?
Well, he's sort of a turtle dragon.
Well, yeah, he's more like Gamera, protector of the children.
Well, he's not a protector of the children.
Well, I'm just saying, if you look at him, they clearly ripped off Gamera to make Bowser.
Does Gamera have spikes on his shell?
Yeah, sort of.
Does he breathe fire?
Yeah, sometimes.
I don't think you're thinking about the same Gamera I am.
Yeah.
I think we belong to a different church of Gamera worship.
What Gamera do you talk about? Gamera spins
Gamera
around.
spins around.
And flames come out of those little holes.
Right, but he doesn't breathe fire.
Well, I mean, that's sort
Flames
of like
come out of the
sort of
holes.
like breathing fire.
Yeah. I like the song that the kids sing when Gamera comes around.
Gamera is really neat. Gamera is full of meat. We all love you, Gamera.
Exactly.
That the one?
Yeah, that's
He's
the
full
one.
of meat.
Yeah.
That part always got me. I thought it was kind of strange.
You don't normally talk about protectors of children in such a way.
Did my kid talk? My dad's full of meat. And he's describing me to his friends.
Your kids, the friends are going to leave very quickly.
Yeah, that's it.
I always liked the dragon in Beauty and the Beast. I think it was not Beauty and the Beast. And by Beauty and the Beast, I mean a completely different movie, Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, do you remember the dragon that gets fought in Sleeping Beauty? That's a real dragon.
You talk about the Disney classic?
Yeah, that's a real frightening
dragon.
dragon. It's scary.
Yeah.
I don't like my dragons to be sort of bumbling fools.
Like
Singe.
He's not bumbling,
he's
is he?
pretty bumbling. Smog, or as
that guy's not animated. Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah,
wasn't he? I forgot about
with the Sherlock Holmes voice.
Yeah. There you go.
But Pete's Dragon. I don't know.
Don Bluth also animated that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that film. How long has it been? They made a new one, you know?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
That was an HBO standout back in the day when it was like when they just would bring movies directly to HBO when I was a kid. That was Pete Dragon on there a lot.
Yeah.
That appealed to the kids before the dirtier HBO fare would come on later in the evening.
That's true.
The dragons in that we can't talk about.
But we're not going to talk about those dragons or Pete's Dragon. We're only here to talk about one dragon. And that's the one on Aaron's shirt right now, brought to us
by the boss man.
Paul Harrington. Thank you for your Spectrum shirts again.
I love it.
Let's talk Thanatos, Aaron.
Outstanding. So, Thanatos, released in December of 1986 at a original price of £10, all right, £9.99p. So, this was put out by Durell Software. But now, we've actually talked about these guys before when we covered we've covered that. It's funny that remember we were talking about that fat worm blows a spark. That was one of theirs.
And also they did the F1 game that we just played.
They did. They've done a lot of games. I guess they were a pretty big deal on the
they are fondly remembered as one of the best publishers in the biz.
Yeah.
And by the biz, I mean the industry.
Is that your insider talk? So now this was really the baby of Mike A. Richardson. Boat, where can you remember Mike Richardson from? We just recently covered him.
One of the more generic names out there.
Well, he did Turbo Spree. It was his baby. So this he's all over the place. And it's funny, I looked back on the history of Durell, and the neat thing about it is like You could see, they literally, that when this outfit came together, a guy just looked in the paper for some programmers, and then they joined up.
That's the way it was in the UK back in the day.
Isn't that? I mean, I just love that.
You just had everybody put a little newspaper ad in. They're like, hey, I can program on the Specky. Sign me up.
I read one guy answered the ad. He went to go talk to him, and he came home with a computer. He's like, hey, I'm hired, and that's the way it should be. I love that. But a couple of the big games that they released early on, Richardson had a hand in, including Turbo Esprit. Another one that he worked on was Saboteur 3.
Which I've heard Saboteur is a good game on the Specky.
Another
too.
Harrier Attack, which is apparently sort of like a scramble or something. And then the one that got his foot in the door was a Pitfall clone, if you will, called Jungle Trouble.
Okay.
So that's the one that got him hired.
So many great games. Before we go on, Aaron.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about what you've been up to in the lab this week. We can't let this pass.
You're right. We can put this in now. So as you'll recall, Boat allegedly burned up the house Specky, that little number right there. So I felt bad, Boat, because we don't now. I like to have something, and we had the House Amiga, and that poor thing was beat to death.
Yeah.
That poor sad thing. But we got it working. And so I thought, well, let's take a hand at this thing. So I took this thing to the lab and went to work on it, popped the top on it, and it looked okay. It didn't look too bad. So I touched up some solder. I replaced a cap, and
look at that. Look how well that fits right there on our screen.
that's nice. And then one thing I did was Boat mocked my ability to repair on Discord this week.
Only because you mocked my ability to repair first.
Yeah, but I have evidence of your inability. Boat fire trap of car had taken the power supply for this thing and had.
It's a technique known as tape solder, Aaron.
Listen, they
teach it overseas.
You've taken half-ass to an exciting new level. You've went 1/4 impulse ass when you put that together. So I resoldered that thing, which I have a feeling that was a big chunk of the problem right there. And also I think this thing got so hot that some of the solder liquefied. So I touched up solder. Anyway, long story short, it's working. We're back in business. So we'll be able to actually play some ZX games here on the show. I had to correct myself there, but or I get murdered.
Right.
So I'm happy to have it back.
Yeah, me too.
It's funny though, because when this thing comes up, because I don't have the experience with it you have, you really can't do anything.
No.
It just sits on the screen. I'm like, well, good enough.
You can type to your heart's content.
Yeah. So, but I was happy. And special thanks to the Huck, who was standing by my side as I staggered through this.
Yeah.
He offered me some tips and stuff, and some videos on what to look for and check voltages and stuff. So, bizarre, we got it. Good for us.
Yeah.
So, anyways, back to this here game. This, of course, you have to have the bare minimum 48K to run this bad boy. Now, this one now get this, Boat. The credits in this also include Jane Richardson, which I assume is Mike's wife. Let's go there. And then the composer was someone named Julian Breeze, which is a great name for a composer, who worked on a game called Critical Mass and Sigma 7. This game supports the old Kempston, which that's
what I use.
That's dandy.
Yep.
And was also released on the Amstrad and the C64. Now, I looked at the Amstrad version of this, and it was eerily similar. So I'm guessing this was probably a straight port from Spectrum, I would say.
Probably so.
And so we're going to go with that. So, what is Thanatos, Bo? Well, it's one of these awesome games where you get to control a dragon. And very few times, there aren't a ton of these older games where you get to control a dragon and you feel like you're actually flying around a dragon.
Oh, yeah.
There's a shoot 'em up, you're flying a dragon. It's called Dragon Spirit. You ever played that? It's
not great.
This game, you feel like you're the dragon. You punish suckers. You dive bomb losers.
You lay waste to the countryside.
You grab geeks and drop them on other geeks, and then laugh. And occasionally you eat a witch, just to feel like you're a stud. First off, before we get into this game, we got to start with the actual brilliant dragon itself. So the dragon in this is a big, awesome-looking, amazingly detailed sort of graphic.
Yeah, I mean it's a fully animated sprite. And the size is
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's not too big to work.
No.
It's just big enough for you to feel like
this isn't like Sodan where you constantly feel like you're controlling this mass of flesh. I mean, this thing is a live beast.
So believe it or not, there's a story behind this boat, if I may.
Okay.
The dragon is called Thanatos the Destroyer. That's you. That's the way it should be. So you've got to rescue the sorceress Eros, who was taken prisoner by an evil lord of the underworld. All right. So basically, the long story short, you've got to fly, pick her up, then she gets on your back. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
That's the way you do it. I'll get to that in a minute. Then you've got to basically go find her spell book, and then you've got to take her to the mystical cauldron, where she can complete a spell, which
perform
will
her arts.
Basically make that clean up the world.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked about the dragon. The dragon has. I mean, it's beautifully detailed. Mm-hmm. You've got the dragon, the claws. He's got sort of the old turkey, the goozle gimmick down there.
The gizzard.
Is that what you call that?
No, it's called the waddle.
You can see his tongue moving around, which is cool.
His tail is animated. His tail. I mean, I'm talking about
devil gimmick on the back.
There's multiple frames of animation on each one of these parts of the body. How they were able to animate something like this so cleanly on the spectrum while the screen is scrolling by and there's other stuff going on, it's a feat of magnificence.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Eros, the chick that you pick up. Okay. She hops up on your back, and even she looks cool. Her hair's flapping in the breeze.
Right.
She's holding on. I found out early on that if you're wiggling around with your dragon, she can fall off. Did you ever have that happen?
No, I never had her fall off.
Oh, yeah.
I did accidentally destroy her a couple times. I'd pick her up and drop her. Burn her.
You picked her up?
Yeah,
You're not supposed to pick her up.
I didn't mean to.
But she looks cool. That's one of the. I mean, we're getting into one of the things I like with this game. You can screw up your own game.
Yeah.
You can drop her in the water. She's gone. You can drop her to the enemy. She's gone. You can accidentally brutally slice or burn her. You can accidentally feed her to fire. Feed her to the giant spiders. So she can fall off bunches of times.
Right.
So then sometimes she'll fall and you can get her. You can accidentally, violently, and brutally pick her up with your claws. And then she's done.
Yeah.
So,
and then as soon as you do that, the game ends. The game's like, you screwed up, big boy.
Yeah, there's
no
coming back because who's going to cast a spell? You're an idiot, dragon, basically what it's saying. The game keeps track of two stats, your life and your ability to shoot fire. I guess your fire breath capacity. The life is represented by like a beating heart. The fire capacity is like a wine cup or something. Blood? No, it looks like a wine.
It's a blood bag, like an IV,
like a big goblet or something. Is what it looks like to me.
I don't know. Look at the top of that thing.
As you use that, the blood, the amount of fire goes, takes away from what's in the goblet, and it's got this the old heartbeat sound effect. And when the dragon is, when you fly too long, for example, or start taking too much damage, the heart starts beating real quick, and eventually, your dragon can have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah,
and he dies. He's done. So what is the gameplay? Well, you are the dragon. If you want to, you can fly around and you can go as fast as you want.
This is fully horizontally scrolling left and right.
Yeah, and that's right. There's no freedom of movement. It's like they can't go continuously up, but you can go left or right, like you said. You can also turn wherever you want. You can land and walk around. And sometimes if you're flying a lot, you've got to land. And you've got to rest.
You got to recover your stamina.
And also if you took a beating from the enemy, you can land and kind of rest. So, what are the enemy? Well, there's quite a bunch of enemies in this. You've got just guys with spears and stuff down there that will attack you. You've also got, I don't know what these things are, like balls of slime or something. You've got giant bees. You've got there's a two-headed dragon. Did you see that thing? That thing's cool. There are giant spiders.
Yeah, there's like Loch Ness monster things coming up out of the water.
And when you go across the ocean. So the amazing thing about this is while all that's happening, there's a scrolling multi-planar background. All right. Now this may be more impressive than the dragon. It's close. What you've got is you've got parallax scrolling, and I don't mean garbage scrolling. I mean top shelf scrolling. There are scenes where he goes through walls or goes across like a frontier point or fencing or something, and you see the whole background. I mean, it's the perspective is dead on perfect, isn't it, Bo?
Yeah.
While you're scrolling, there's terrain. The terrain changes. You've got volcanoes, trees, and stuff. Now, I'll tell you, when I played this the first couple of times, I didn't exactly know what I was doing because I didn't read any docs, do anything. And so I got to basically the castle, and then I just
didn't know how to proceed.
I know what to do because I breathed on it, nothing happened, so I just flew around. So I had to go and read up.
You got to really give that door the business.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that's what's, if you're watching the video version, that's what we're looking at now. You have to breathe a ton of fire on this door to get through. But once you get through, you can move on. When your dragon is running out of fire, what do? Well, occasionally you'll come across these chicks that are staked to the ground, basically. Now, I had to read to find out these are witches.
They're witches.
And then you eat them.
Yep. You walk up to them and they disappear and you go, ah. You don't actually do that, but in your mind you go, ah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It's also, it gives you a good feeling. Now, we sort of touched on this, but we didn't go into it. Your dragon has these big clawed feet, as a dragon will. And you've got a bunch of goofs down at the bottom of the screen that will try to give you trouble.
Yeah, they're firing arrows up at you.
And especially the knights that are on these horses. And so what's great to do is to come across with these guys. If you put your feet in the right spot, the dragon will sort of automatically grab these guys.
Yeah.
And then they're boned. Then you can fly to the top of the screen or do whatever you want, and you drop them on the enemy like a bomb.
Yeah.
It's great. That's the best.
It's a man bomb. That's what they call it.
It's a man bomb. I thought that was awesome. I thought that, and I didn't expect it because the first time I did it was accidental.
It's a very kind of satisfying physics-based way of going about things.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, since we were talking about this earlier, and I thought I told you to bring it up. This game reminds me so much of the movie, the animated movie, Heavy Metal. Have you ever seen Heavy Metal?
No, but I know of what you speak. It was a magazine, right?
It was, and this is a movie that was made by those guys. It's all like kind of rock fantasy stuff. And there's an awesome scene of this hot chick that rides this thing around, and it's very, very similar to this.
Do you think that was a direct inspiration for this?
You know, the timing probably would be there. But then again, the hot chick on the dragon gimmick, it's not like that's an original concept.
Very true, very true.
But every time I was playing this, I was like, man, that fits this to a T. Everything about it, it reminded me of it. The game is not what I would call super complex, is it? I mean, basically, we've pretty much summed up what you do.
Yeah.
You try to incinerate your enemies. Well, you don't even have to. You can just fly over almost everything in the game, to be honest with you, except for, the other dragon that will come up with the bees, or the spiders when you get in the spider cave. You can get past just a lot of stuff, but I mean, that's not as much fun. No, I got to ask you, did you actually complete the quest?
No, I flew around for a long time and I had fun with different stuff, but I wanted to see the end, so I jumped on YouTube and watched the playthrough.
Yeah, I did beat it for once. I actually beat something, and it was a lot of fun. Now I watched tutorials and stuff to figure out what I was doing.
We're watching this right now. Look at the moon on the water there.
Yeah, the attention to detail that Richardson put in this game was quite amazing. And of course, this is the same guy that did the Esprit Turbo game we played a while back, which also had a ridiculous amount of detail. This guy's detail oriented. From what I read, this was going to be the game that he left on because he found the pressure of operating in the timetables and the fact that every game you put out had to be better than the last one. He found it unnerving.
Sure.
And he got tired and he couldn't sleep, and so this was sort of the one that he played with. It wasn't, of course, but he kept on trucking. But this game did, this game, maybe that's why it's so good. He put a lot of work into it. Do you have any criticisms of the game that you can think of? Now I can think of a couple. Let's see what you got.
Boy, it would be nice to, and maybe the documentation had this, but it would be nice to sort of have the concept of what you're supposed to be doing, like how the game is really a linear thing. I saw somebody had mapped it out where it's really like, it's like one continuous strip of land. And it would be nice to know that, yeah, your object is to get to the end of this thing, because when you are able to kind of free fly around, sometimes that obfuscates the what you're supposed to be doing. I never really like games that show you graphical representations of things like health and stamina. I like to have a regular gauge, or give me a number or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would get flying so much and I wouldn't be looking down, or I'd glance down at my heart and I'd overheat, and I'd die.
Overheat.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
But these are such small qualms. I mean, this game is fantastic. I really thought it was great.
Yeah, and we really kind of undersold the amount of the attacks. There's all kinds of animals. There's stuff falls on you. Another small complaint is like the rock sections. Yes.
They really make it so you can't avoid the rocks. I mean, you're basically just flying through that area as fast as possible, just trying to get through.
The one thing about though is the way the system works is that if you take your time, which is what I did, and you rest a lot, you can get past that.
You know what this game reminded me of the most, and you may be surprised to hear this.
What's that?
Forbidden Forest.
Why?
On the C64.
I love that game.
Okay.
Why?
Because you're doing the same sorts of things in Forbidden Forest. You're moving in Forbidden Forest, I think you're moving from right to left. In this game, you move from left to right. But as you move into each new zone, you're facing off against different types of enemies. And you're heading towards. Now, this is a much deeper game, in my opinion, because you have the aspect of rescuing the sorceress and doing the different things. But I liked it just as much as Forbidden Forest, because it was a level-based system, but it didn't stop between the levels. You just seamlessly move between them. Now, this game didn't have the rockin' soundtrack of Forbidden Forest where your guys dance. How awesome would it be? The dragons dancing around when you beat one of the levels.
It did have, some okay musical.
Yeah. But anyway, that was the closest comparison I had. Have you ever played anything quite like this?
Not really. I mean, really, it's unique. And like I said, that the gameplay, you don't have to go crazy. In fact, that's what I kind of like games where you kind of slow down a little bit. Which is why I played this so much.
Boy, you couldn't put a deeper chasm between this week's game on Amigos and Our Sinclair, huh?
That reminds me, I've got to mention this because it is an interesting tidbit that I miscued earlier. So this game has awesome box art. You may have heard this before. The box art in this is this chick and a dragon. It's really good. The guy that did it was named John Berkey. He was known for a bunch of stuff, and including book covers and stuff. But one thing he did was a lot of movie posters, including stuff like Star Wars, King Kong, and Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
It's a good lineage.
He's a big time artist, and he did the cool cover for this, which completes the package. We should mention there are 8 skill levels on this, and the joystick, everything for emulation purposes worked fine for me. I didn't have any trouble at all. The color clash is there, but it's not. It only happens on occasion, depending on what you're doing. But otherwise, the still shots of this game probably look as good as any Spectrum game can look.
Yeah.
I will say the problems I had most were turning the dragon. As cool as it looks, it's slow. Mm-hmm. And if you turn too quick, like I said, you'll dump that chick right off.
But again, they made it quasi-realistic. If you're a huge, 80-foot long dragon, it's going to take you a second to turn yourself around. And if that maiden up behind you is on her, you take a sharp turn, she's going to fly right off your back. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say nothing to that. But yeah, this one, of course, Boss Man made this awesome shirt, which I love.
Yeah.
But when I got it, as you'll recall, I was like, "What is this?" Mm-hmm. It looked cool, dragon, sounds good, but man, this. Can the graphics on the Specky get any better? I don't know if they can.
This is right up there.
This has got to be the tippity top. I'm telling you, the scrolling on this cannot be overemphasized how awesome it is. The dragon's detail and the fact that you land and fly at your leisure. Mm-hmm. Complete with animations for all that stuff.
They could have made this an ultra lame, like side-scrolling, forced scrolling, like dragon firing, like the Dragon Fire game. What was it called? Dragon Spirits.
Yeah.
Is that a side-scrolling?
I think it's a vert shooter, as I recall.
Yeah. But they could have taken the easy way out with Dragon Game, and they didn't.
Well, and I'll tell you something else that just as if I was a kid in '86 and this had came along, I would have lost my mind. Because it's got that adventurous, explorational aspect to it that appeals to especially kids of the day where you weren't as used to as you are now. Probably the same thing with the Esprit Turbo, where you're not used to having ability to go where and do what you want.
Yeah.
That didn't exist. I mean, in all honesty. And so when you've got something like this, plus throw in the fact that you're a dragon, plus throw in the fact you got a hot chick riding you, plus throw in the fact that the graphics are unbelievable, you got something there, Bo.
Absolutely.
And I will say that we're not the only ones that think so. I did a little looking around. And this game's pretty renowned. The people over at World of Spectrum gave this a 8.41, which is a really high score. Crash gave it a 93. Sinclair user gave it a 4 out of 5. Computer and Video Games gave it an 8 out of 10. It's considered one of the all-time great visual games on the platform, and I can't imagine what's going to come along. It's going to unseat this from the top.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, is it? I guess the biggest complaint you would have is, does this have a lot of replay value? It depends on your mood, really. You know, if I'm in the mood just to go mow down some losers, you know what this reminds me of in terms of the mood game was like a Walker on the Amiga. I know you didn't like it, but when you're bored or you're grumpy from a day's work and you're like, I want to blow away some geeks, Walker was very similar to this. You could just walk up to a bunch of jerks. Oh, look, they're throwing spears and crap. Die! And just breathe the doom on them.
I can see that totally.
Or pick them up and just toss them. And you can use them in adventurous ways. I'd carry a guy for a while, dump him in the water. It's funny. Dump him anywhere. It's good stuff. But this game's going to be tough to knock out. I believe it or not, I found one of these on eBay. One box cassette in Spain, of all places, $33.72 US dollars, Boatster, is what you would give for that. So this must be one that people are holding on to.
Yeah, well, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
We did get some Discord community reviews. As always, if you support the show on Patreon, then you can get access to our Amigos Discord server, and you can post reviews just like D-Man did. D-Man said, amazing graphics with the huge dragon sprite. I never was convinced there was much of a game in there, though. Graphics and atmosphere, 9 out of 10. Gameplay, 5 out of 10. Pixels at Dawn says, amazing graphics, especially the three-dimensional landscape, like you said.
Yes, amazing.
Gameplay is a little simple, and the sound is lacking even on the 128K version, but damn it, I get to be a dragon. 7.5 out of 10.
Yes.
Bossman Harrington weighed in. Haunting title music, and while not much in the way of sound, the heartbeat effect really heightens the tension. Some great graphical touches, such as the parallax scrolling and the huge dragon sprite. It's a fun but short game where you can pick up rocks and people to drop onto unsuspecting victims, eat human sacrifices to replenish your fire breath, and you can even pluck knights right off their horses.
Love it.
A Spectrum classic.
Yes.
Chris Fold says, at 10 years old, I was the king of dragons. Now 33 years later, the king has tried it again. Amazing graphics and still good fun today to burn some village folk in a low-level flyby. With modern eyes, it would benefit from a more fleshed-out game, but for 86, a wowzer. 8 out of 10. And finally, Graham Bebke. He says, this game I had played previously on the C64, which featured Rob Hubbard music.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The best bit of that version. But the Spectrum version easily wins here. Better control and colorful graphics made by Durell, a developer who has delivered cracking games like Saboteur and delivers here with this Green Dragon 2. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree with everything he said there. I didn't get to see the C64 version, but I heard this was the top of the heap.
I just love like the sort of pastel color of the castles and the villages in the background.
I mean, if you look at the limited palette and the limited resolution and the limited everything, he took those limits. I mean, we're watching video of this now if you're watching our video version, and we're watching animals jump around. They're scrolling in the background. There are mansions and trees and stuff. Everything. It's just, there's a lot going on. Plus, oh, by the way, you're a huge dragon. When both dragons get on the screen, it just keeps on trucking.
Yeah.
It is truly astounding to me that you could take a limited amount of palette and stuff and turn out something like this. Quite an amazing accomplishment by this fellow.
Absolutely.
Very impressive.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for listening. As always, I want to give a special thank you to all the fine folks in the chat. We record Our Sinclair live every Friday, except when we don't, like today, because Aaron's kid's got a ball game tomorrow, so we had to record on Thursday. But I want to thank Bossman Harrington here in the chat right now among us, Pishbot, the legend from Scotland, Pixels at Dawn, Michael Ryan, Free Lunch, Terry Howard, Graham Vebke, Picard 2005. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys, especially you European fellows, staying up late to listen to the show.
On a work day.
On a work day.
Indeed, we appreciate it.
As always, if you'd like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/Our Sinclair. And I'd like to thank our fine supporters, Aaron. Eric Nelson, Harbonaut.
Ooh.
Graham Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Bossman Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. Hasifa.
A good group.
Absolutely. Next week, Aaron, we're going to twist things around. We're going back to the world of isometric.
Okay.
And we're going to play the classic, yet I've still never played it, Head Over Heels.
I've heard of this.
Classic isometric puzzle game.
All right, okay.
We'll give it a whirl. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Until next week, rewind tape.
And press play.